I am Brother Bedford. For those of you who don't know, I don't want to take for granted. We have a lot of new people coming on to the stream and possibly seeing the recording who have not encountered me before. My name is Brother Bedford. I'm known for the creation of Conversations with Black Millionaires series. People know me from my 4 famous words of notification of payment received, and I'm recently founded the Masters of Business Network and Mastermind Group. And so I've been a follower, a student of the man that we're going to hear from today. And here's the reason why I've even started those programs and even got into using the language of networking and masterminding and joint venturing and strategic alliances. All of those came from my study up under the man that we're about to hear from now, Dr. George C. Fraser. As you can see, he's preparing to come before us. I see we're getting some text over here of questions that are already beginning to come in. Someone said they hadn't seen a lineup like this since the Tavis Smiley State of the Black Union addresses. And so we know that this is something that is unusual in terms of the type of star power that's going to be coming to you weekly. But at the same time, you're worth it. You deserve every bit of the type of leadership that Black America and our leaders and thought leaders can give you. We know that there's a lot of mixed messaging, a lot of signals that are not quite clear. And so we want to do our best to make sure that you get everything that you need and everything that you deserve. So with that being said, I'm going to get ready to turn it over to my mentor and friend. And George, I want you, again, just for those who may not be familiar, who are just encountering you for the very first time, could you give yourself a brief introduction of who you are and your story, your backstory, and then could you take us into the vital information you want to share with us this evening?
Good evening, everybody. It is a rainy and dark day here in Cleveland, Ohio, where I am sitting in my office, as you can see. But in my own mind, it is a sunshiny day. And I really hate talking about myself, but it sort of embarrasses me a little bit. But many of you, if not most of you, certainly those of you on this podcast, know that I am straight no chaser, and I am about and for our people. I am a race man, and I have been for 40 years, deeply committed to Black excellence, to economic development and wealth creation in the African American community, and building a nation. And hopefully those 3 things will be my legacy as I am 75 years old. I know I look 35 or 40, but you know, black don't crack. So I want to get off of me and sort of get into the content this evening. If you want to know more about me, you could just Google me, and everything you want to know but was afraid to ask will be there. And I want to thank you for being on the call. I want to welcome you to what I think will be a very exciting hour, one of 30 exciting hours. I'm the first of 30 in the podcast. The series will go on for about 11 weeks. But there have been 40 people that have helped to put this all-star power podcast together. You're looking at one of them on the screen, or you were looking at one of them, Brother Bedford. Of course, Delano, who does all of our branding and all of our design, and he's sort of our brand architect for all things Fraser Net. His partner in crime is William Byers, who's helped tremendously. Of course, Linda Sams helps us with a lot of our social media work and getting the word out to you. Linda Clemens, who will be one of the stars in the podcast series, and maybe even one of the co-hosts on one of the evenings, the 30 evenings that we're going to be doing this. So I'm the first. My job is to sort of set the pace, if you will, and maybe even set the standards by which all other podcasts will be judged. I'm going to speak to you very forthright. I'm going to say some things to you that I have been crisscrossing the country before the coronavirus, saying to our brothers and sisters, I'm not a happy camper. I'm not satisfied with where we are. I'm going to put a pin in that and pick up on that in a minute. But I just want to say to you from the heart that in times of great danger, we are historically and have historically relied upon our faith and exceptional leadership to prevail and to move us forward. That's just the kind of people we are. Mm-hmm. True enough that our current challenges are significant and must not be minimized. Our ultimate success demands thoughtful, disciplined, and vigilant action. However, it is also true that this situation will not rival the 254 years of slavery or the 100 plus years of lynchings that we have already overcome. Daunting challenges are not new to us, brothers and sisters. We are God's first people. We are brilliant, we are powerful, and we are a resilient people. Therefore, we will continue to press on because nothing is more contagious or cures more ills than Black excellence. Mm-hmm. Truth be told, our 400-year American experience stands as an enduring testimony to the systemic obstacles we continue to overcome. And from Frederick Douglass to Harriet Tubman and to Marcus Garvey and to Rosa Parks, people who look like us when faced with enormous challenges have always forged new pathways and provided the maps and lights to carefully navigate our nervous steps. In this spirit of excellence, the Power Podcast All-Stars have been assembled to share their experiences, their expertise, and their wisdom to help guide us all towards a 21st century of Black unity, of Black freedom, and progress. And nothing will stop us. And I'm truly happy that you joined us this evening. There is much to talk about, and if you don't mind me just sort of saying a little bit about COVID-19, I'm going to sum it up very simply. So COVID-19 has us homeschooling, praying, spending time with our families, praying for others, and being sober-minded. It sounds like that God's in control here. And this isn't a plague.
That's true.
This is an awakening. I've learned my lessons, and this is the first time in 34 years of business that I have been sequestered, embargoed, and limited to a confined space. I am a person who likes to go out and be among people and travel. Well, I will not be traveling for the foreseeable future. I will not be going to bars. I will not be going to restaurants. I will not be going to other meetings, at least for a while. And this has taken me a bit of time to get used to, but this is God's will. And I'm learning lessons from this because God works in mysterious ways and everything happens for a reason and serves us in some special way. And we will never understand that reason looking forward, and we will only understand it looking backwards. I want to start with a prayer. It's actually a prayer that I stole from the great Reverend Dr. Jamal Bryant several years ago. I just love the way he tends to synthesize things in his social media posts. And I saw this one day. I told him that I gave him attribution for his words, but you know the law of attribution is you give credit 3 times and then you steal it. And so this is the prayer. Dear Lord, alleviate the unnecessary, interrupt the annoying, upset the status quo, assign more angels, usher in more miracles, and overthrow everything that is average. I love that.
Right.
I love it because it speaks to a very, very important point that Black people cannot be average. We cannot be mediocre.
Mhm.
My mom taught me many, many, many years ago that you're going to have to be twice as good to get half as much, because if you're Black and mediocre in America, you better leave. We cannot be mediocre. You will know that it is the end of racism in America when a mediocre Black man can rise in the corporate world. That will never happen in your lifetime. Do you know how many mediocre white men I worked for in my lifetime? No, we have to be excellent. We have to be exceptional. You can be mediocre and white in this country and rise to the presidency of the United States. Do you believe that if Barack Obama had done 1/100th of what this president has said or done, he would not have ever been elected dog catcher? No, we cannot be mediocre. We must be excellent at the base and exceptional as an aspiration. And that's really what everything FraserNet is all about. That is really the business we're in. We're in the business of excellence and exceptionalism, and providing you the instruments, the vessels, the tools, the information, the knowledge, the books, the podcasts, the webinars, the conferences, the seminars, the speeches, to move you to excellence if you're not already there. And if you're already there, to move you to exceptionalism. But unfortunately, as I travel around the country, whether I go to Seattle or Miami, whether I go to San Diego or Maine, whether I go to South Africa or Egypt or you name it. The interesting thing to me, in the 150 speeches I give a year, the 2,500 speeches I've given over the course of time, that the condition of Black people, wherever they are, and there are 1.6 billion of them, we're the second largest race in America. Oh, in the world, I should say. We're the second largest race in the world. Asians at 4.4 billion and white folks at about 1 billion. We are the second largest race in the world. And wherever I travel in America or around the world, the state of our condition is exactly the same. In America, we are at the bottom of every single economic statistic that matters in America, and we've been here 400 years. There are lots of reasons, but we're still at the bottom. It disturbs me. I said to a large group right before the COVID embargo that I believe that too many of us are morphing into Toms.
Mm.
I don't mean Uncle Toms. I mean, it is the toleration of mediocrity. We are tolerating mediocrity when just okay is not okay.
That's right.
To leave a generation worse off than us as baby boomers is not okay. A recent article in the USA Today about Black baby boomers and their money. And it said that Black baby boomers will be the first generation of Africans in America to raise another generation of Africans in America that will not do better than them. So in the 400-year history of our people in this country, we are the only generation to raise another generation that will be worse off. That is not okay. That is mediocre. To tolerate a widening wealth gap between Blacks and whites in America, even in just the last 50 years, that's not okay, brothers and sisters. To be outside of our own spiritual thinking. Proverbs 13:22 tells us what? That a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. We're not doing that. That is not okay. To tolerate the highest high school dropout rate of all races in this country, that is not okay. And unless we fix this, we are headed into a second slavery. Let me say that differently. We are all drinking from wells that we did not dig, that we are standing on the shoulders of giants. many generations who have fought and died for civil rights, voting rights, public access, fought and died for our freedom. We are standing on those shoulders. They paid the price.
Right.
If, in fact, we are all drinking from wells that we did not dig, the real question becomes to me, are we worthy of the legacy of our ancestors? Again, from 1619 to 1864, 12 generations fought and died for freedom. From 1864 to 1964, 100 years later, 5 generations fought and died for civil rights, voting rights, and public access. Are we worthy of that legacy? And the next question is, if in fact we believe that we are worthy of that legacy, the real question will be, what will be our legacy? What will our children's 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 children be saying about us 150 years from now? Now, unless you are a baby boomer, you cannot take credit for civil rights, voting rights, and public access. If you are Generation X, Y, Z, and the new Generation Alpha, which is the children of the millennials, you had nothing to do with fighting for civil rights, voting rights, and public access. So the question I ask those 4 living generations, Generation X, Y, Z, and Generation Alpha, children of the millennials, what will be your legacy? What will our children's children's children be saying about you 150 years from now? You need to think about that. What will be your legacy? I hope it's economics. I hope you understand that economics is the new black power. I know one thing that our younger generations have done that the older generations did not do. You're unapologetically black. We love you for that. Now, whether you're woke and whether you're conscious, that's a whole nother thing, but you are unapologetically black. We love you for that, but that is not enough legacy.
Right.
You got to build on that. And the responsibility for baby boomers of my generation, I'm the oldest of the baby boomer at 75. The youngest baby boomers are around 55. So our job is to help set the pace, provide you some direction, provide you some instruments, some vessels, and tools, and you take it the next step. That's what is expected of you. Let me say that differently. You will never change that which you tolerate, and you will only change when you get angry. People will not change when they see the light. People will change only when they feel the heat. The question is, do you feel enough heat? Are you angry enough to do the work, to stay the course? Are you? That is really the big question for succeeding generations. I am praying that you are. I am praying that you are seeking wisdom and knowledge. I am praying that you are connecting with the elders, that you are asking, appearing, showing up where the elders or the older generations are, that you can sit at the feet of masters and learn from them, because we can learn from you. There's some things that you're doing that we didn't even think about to do. So we can learn from both of us. But basically, fundamentally and foundationally, you must seek wisdom and knowledge. There's a beautiful it's a Proverbs 3, and it's 13 through 17. I want to read it to you. Happy are those who find wisdom and those who get understanding. For her income is better than silver, and her revenue is better than gold. She is more precious than jewels, and nothing you desire can compare with her. A long life is in her right hand, and in her left hand are riches and honor. Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all of her paths are peace. She is the tree of life to those who lay hold of her, and those who hold her fast are called happy. When they say her, they are talking about wisdom and knowledge. This podcast is designed to provide you wisdom and knowledge. Now, let me plant this seed, and I want you, if you have a piece of paper in front of you, I want you to write it down. Until Black America puts Black America first, Black America will always be last. Let me say that again. Until Black America puts Black America first, Black America will always be last. 25 years ago, I wrote a book called Success Runs in Our Race, The Complete Guide to Effective Networking in the African American Community. And I begged people in that book to think race and culture first, but not only. We are in an existential crisis. To be Black and beautiful means nothing unless you're Black and powerful.
That's right.
You cannot be Black and proud and niggas too. White folks are planning for 3 generations, and we're planning for Saturday night. The goal, brothers and sisters, is to win, not to look like we're winning. I would rather carry a plastic bag with $5,000 in it than to carry a $5,000 Louis Vuitton bag with $100 in it.
That's right.
Isn't it interesting that the rich stay rich by pretending to be poor, and the poor stay poor by pretending to be rich? We are headed into a second slavery if nothing changes. All of the statistics and all of the studies show this. The Institute of Policy Studies in April of 2018 came out with a 300-page report on the economic state of Black America. The concluding paragraph was, and I quote, by 2053, 10 years after the majority becomes the minority, if nothing changes, African American household median wealth will be 0. In effect, we will have worked our way into a second slavery. Try to operate in a market-based economy and a democratic capitalistic society without any money. We must fix this. White people will not be saving Black people, in case nobody told you. So, write that down, put it in your wallet. White people are not even thinking about Black people. Do you know who white people are thinking about? White people. They're thinking about their husbands, their wives, their children, their businesses, their communities, and their schools. They ain't thinking about you. Asians are not thinking about you. Asians are thinking about Asians. The only time they think about you is when they open that Chinese restaurant in the hood. And by the way, if you go into an Asian restaurant and there are 4 brothers waiting on you, leave. That ain't a real Chinese restaurant, because Asians do not employ Black people. They don't even buy from Black people. So they're really not thinking about us. This work has to be done by us. We are vested with the challenge of getting this done, of closing the income and wealth gap. Now, a piece of advice here. You will never manifest your dreams by complaining your way out of your current reality. You'd never change things by fighting the existing reality. You change something when you build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. So the old model has sort of gotten us where we are today. We must fix this. We must focus on financial education and financial literacy in the context of our community. We are fundamentally a financially illiterate people, as evidence in how we spend our money and how we recycle our dollars. We are the consumption class and they are the merchant class. They make stuff, we buy stuff. We've got to focus on what I call the 4 pillars for the intergenerational transfer of wealth. Don't have time to unpack them. We'll unpack them at the Power Networking Conference. What are the 4 pillars? They very simply are the proper management of accumulated wealth. So we can stop reading about athletes who earn $100 million in their career, and within 5 years of retirement, they're either broke or in bankruptcy. That is the improper management of accumulated wealth. There are 35,000 Black millionaires in America. Don't get excited. There are 1.5 million white millionaires. So we have a lot of catching up to do. There are 2.2 million of us worth $400,000 or more in household wealth. Most of that's tied up in real estate. The question is, are we properly managing that wealth? No. If we were properly managing that wealth, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So the proper management of accumulated wealth is one. The second one is real estate, right? What's the first thing God gave Adam? Real estate. What's the first thing God gave Isaac? Real estate, real estate, real estate. They ain't making it anymore. We came over here on the Mayflower. We own the fewest number of properties in America. Real estate. What's the third pillar for the intergenerational transfer of wealth? Business ownership. Again, we came over here on the Mayflower and we still own the fewest number of businesses per capita of any cultural group in this country. 97% of Black people are employed. Now, there's nothing wrong with being gainfully employed. And we don't need all Black people to become entrepreneurs. There's some Black people, you've met them, should not be within 100 yards of owning a damn business. But we need more. Because ultimately we must become the #1 employer of our own people. Asians are the #1 employer of their own people. Jews are the #1 employer of their own people. Arabs are the #1 employer of their own people. We too must become the #1 employer of our own people at some point in time, I hope within the next century. That's how long I think it will take. It'll take 3 to 5 generations to do that. So we need more of you to raise your hand to entrepreneurship. And the final pillar for the intergenerational transfer of wealth is proper insurance. I don't want to unpack that, but let me just say that a GoFundMe campaign is not a proper burial campaign. Well, I have stopped contributing to people who are running a GoFundMe campaign to bury their mother or their father. 60% of all wealth is transferred through strategic and tactical placement of proper insurance where inheritance are begotten tax-free. Proper insurance. So we can go on and on and on and on. I know I promised to talk to you about the 7 biggest mistakes you make when networking that ruin your reputation and destroys your business. I'm going to get to that. But I just wanted to sort of lay a foundation that economic development, economics must become the new Black power. It was Dr. Amos Wilson who said so beautifully, and if you don't know who Dr. Amos Wilson is, go on YouTube and watch everything he's ever recorded. And he said to us, our refusal as Black people to confront the issue of money and wealth is going to end up with our very lives being threatened as a people on this earth. He said that in 1994. He also said that only when you look at yourself as a nation can you change things. We'll put a pin in that and pick up on that in a couple of minutes. These are the things that we have to focus on. There's an old saying, when everything is ready, it's too late. We can't wait for everything to get ready. There's a Chinese proverb, it goes, The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. Nothing will change until we start acting like a nation. Not everything that we face can be changed. Let's be honest. But nothing can be changed until it's faced. That's James Baldwin. We have a lot of work to do. Some of us have a limited amount of time to do this work. But there's much that we can do and much that we will do. We've started a financial education system called WINS. It's a faith-based initiative. It's a system. I say to brothers and sisters that have businesses all the time, if you don't have a system, you don't have a business. I don't know what the hell you have, but you don't have a business. Ideas are great, but systems are better. Systems are for duplication, replication, and scaling. So we created a financial education system. We are installing those systems in churches as we speak. We've installed it in Mount Carmel Baptist Church in Charlotte. We've installed it in the Park Church in Charlotte. We're installing it in New Birth in Reverend Dr. Jamal Bryant's church. We'll be installing in Reverend Dr. Freddie Haynes's church in Dallas, Texas, the Wild Wild West, Friendship West. We'll be installing it in the Community of Faith Bishop James Dixon. So we're installing a system, and we have our own curriculum that's culturally specific because we learn differently than white people. You do know that, right? We're oral, visual, tactile, kinesthetic, and auditory learners. So we need a curriculum that complements our learning style, and that's what we have designed. It's called WINS. It's a tool that can be used for decades, generations. We hope that within the next 10 years that 15,000 churches, Black churches, and some social and civic venues, and some fraternal and sorority organizations will also implement the WINS system. Last year, if you were at the Power Networking Conference, we birthed a nation. Yeah, with its own flag, its own preamble, its own declaration of interdependence, its own constitution, its own governors, its own diplomats, its own Secretary of State. Yep, that's the kind of gall we have. Fraser Nation, citizens of generational wealth, where you are committed to demonstrated excellence, entrepreneurial thinking, and equity and investment. And our citizens, excellence is the base. And they're from all walks of life in business and in the professions. And the object is to aggregate the best and brightest in our community and to help promote who they are and what they have to offer, and to help connect the dots. I know I've been talking about that for 30 years, but this is the ultimate version of connecting the dots. You build your own nation. It is cloud-based. It's in the sky. Do you realize that we're only in the Model T stages of the internet? But Henry Ford built the Model T. He had 3 to 4 versions. The last one was 1921. And when he was building the Model T, he could not understand or know or envision that 45 years later there would be a car called the Lamborghini Countach that could go from 0 to 60 in 6 seconds. The Model T couldn't even get to 60 miles an hour. And then another 30 years later, there was a car that was made called the Ferrari Testarossa that could go from 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. So we can't even imagine what the internet will look like 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 years from now. So don't tell me we can't build a nation in the sky. We can't build a nation in the cloud. We can't build an internet-based nation. No barriers, no borders, no boundaries. Yep, we're going to have our own nation. And then, of course, for the last 19 years, we bring to you every year the Power Networking Conference where like-minded people gather. with the best and brightest of brothers and sisters from around the country who share a common vision, gather, and we learn from each other. We network with each other. We share with each other. We train. It's a training conference focused on just a few things: business, money, and wellness. That's all we're focused on: wellness, psychological wellness, and physical wellness, because they're connected, and we're out of our minds. You do know we're out of our right minds. That the psychological holocaust that we have gone through, second to none in the history of humankind, has really jacked us up. So we work on that at the Power Networking Conference with some of the best and brightest. They'll be on the podcast, so they'll unpack it even deeper as we go through this whole series. So those are the tools that we're bringing you. We know that there will be obstacles. Make no mistake about that. One of my favorite quotes outside of the Bible is Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances the action. What stands in the way becomes the way." I love that. The impediment to action advances the action. What stands in your way becomes the way. Another way to say that is that the obstacle is the way. Where there is no obstacle, there is no way. What is the first thing God does when he gives you an assignment that he feels that you are ready for? He puts an obstacle in your way. And your job is to find a way over, around, through, and under the obstacle, to learn the lessons from that obstacles. Whether you make mistakes, whether you stumble, whether you fall, all of those are lessons, and they are perpetrated by a series of obstacles that are put in your way. When you get through or around or under that obstacle that God has put in your way, you get an atta-girl, and you get an atta-boy or an atta-boy, and then you're given a new assignment at a slightly higher level. And what does God do? He puts an obstacle in your way. And when you look back over your life, that is really the story of your entire life: overcoming obstacles, learning the lessons, building on those lessons, and then taking your life and your family and your community and our people to a whole nother level. That's how we define leadership at Fraser Nation. What is leadership? First, leading yourself. You can't lead me if you can't lead you. Second, leading your family, however you define your family. Third, leading your community. Fourth, leading our people. This is the aggregation of citizens that we want in Fraser Nation, those who are committed to doing those things. But there will be obstacles. I am thankful for obstacles. I eat obstacles as vitamins. I love obstacles. I love it when you tell me I can't do something. I say, oh yeah, watch this. It forces us to think innovatively and creatively. If it was easy, why would God need you? Now, I have some good news. I don't know what you think about what you've done in life, but for most of you, I can tell you that your best years are ahead of you. Now, this is not hype. This is not just something I made up. It is the result of a study last year. Hope you read it, in the New England Journal of Medicine, the Harvard of Medicine, the first medical journal ever published in America, on the 3 most productive periods of your life. The 3 most productive periods of your life. The number 1 most productive period of your life is between the ages of 60 and 70, according to science. The number 2 most productive period of your life is between 70 and 80. I'm 75. This is the most productive period of my life. And the 3rd most productive period of your life is between 50 and 60. The average age of a Nobel Prize winner is 62. The average age of a CEO of a Fortune 500 company is 63. The average age of the pastors of the 100 largest churches in America is 71. The average age of a pope is 76. Mandela became president at 76. Ray Kroc really launched McDonald's at nearly 60 years old. Toni Morrison received her Pulitzer Prize at nearly 60, or a Nobel Prize at 62. What am I saying to you? I'm saying that if from 0 to 50, if you're between that range, you ain't done nothing yet. You're just learning. You're just figuring it out. You're just gaining some knowledge and some wisdom to do your best work. Your best work will be between 50 and 80. So your best is yet to come.
That's right.
Now, I'm going to quickly go over a couple of serious networking principles, because I promise you that. I could talk all day about networking. I've written 6 best-selling books on the subject. I hope you read Success Runs in Our Race, The Complete Guide to Effective Networking in the African-American Community, a book I wrote 25 years ago. It is a modern-day classic. It is required reading in 57 historically Black colleges. It is the book that started the networking conversation in Black America and ultimately started the movement of networking in our community. I love the subject. I unpack it deeply at the Power Networking Conference. I'll do a special power talk on it, and I'll do a workshop on it where I'll have a lot more time. But I just want to give you what those 7 mistakes are quickly. Write them down, and I'll unpack them when you come to the Power Networking Conference. What is number 7? Let's start at the bottom. No follow-up. I've given out 31,000 business cards in 40 years. People used to ask me, Dr. Fraser, are you worried about giving out so many business cards? People are going to bug the shit out of you? No, I'm not worried about that. You know why? Here's what I've learned. That 99.9% of everybody I've ever given a business card to has never, ever, ever followed up. I don't have to worry. And they got a business card from America's networking guru, and they still didn't follow up. Now, there's a lot of reasons why people don't follow up. All I can tell you is the fortune is in the follow-up, and I can tell you, and it can give you a system for following up. But follow up. That's number 7. Number 8, people make a poor first impression. I would say that 20% of people that I network with at the myriad of events that I go to and speaking around the country, 20% of those people do not have a business card. They're at a damn business meeting without a business card. That's a poor first impression. They want to tell me their life story. There are 50 people around me. They're trying to tell me their life story. They do not make the proper introduction. The proper introduction requires 5 components: who you are, what you do, where you're from, how do you add value. I mean, there's a formula for it. Think about how you introduce yourself. It should be no more than 15 or 16 seconds. It's called an elevator pitch if you want to call it that. Proper introduction. Who you are, where you're from, what you do, how do you add value, and then prove it to me. If you really add value, quantify it. Tell me how you add value. That's number 6, a poor and first impression. Number 5, most people don't spend enough time networking. We did a massive study. We asked Gallup, the Gallup organization, to do a national study on the networking differences between Black people and white people, a national study. And they found that Black people spent about 14% of their week working on cultivating, nurturing, and building relationships. White people spend about 54% of their time each week working on cultivating and building relationships, because white people know, and you should know, I certainly know, that business is about relationships. Without relationships, you have no business. Without relationships, you have no business being in business. In fact, the business you're really in is the business of building relationships. That's the business you're really in. Spend more time working on your network. The Gallup study showed that the average African American has about 54 really cultivated and developed relationships that they can call on. White Americans have about 125. So they have 2.5 times more relationships that they've cultivated and worked on, right? And seek help and help than you do. Spend more time working on your network, but don't spend major time with minor people. People going nowhere want you to go nowhere with them. People doing nothing want you to do nothing with them. If you want to change your life, change your relationships. If you are not where you want to be in life, it is because you do not have the right relationships in your life. It's no more complicated than that. This was said by Jesus. It is a direct quote from Jesus Christ. There are only 1,100 words of 800,000 words in the Bible that are a direct quote from Jesus Christ. This is one, John 5:30, John 5:30. And Jesus said, I of my own self can do nothing. Now, this was Jesus. Jesus couldn't get it done on his own by himself in a vacuum. So what's up with you? Why would you think you could do anything we're talking about, anything productive on your own by yourself in a vacuum? Relationships. You don't spend enough time working on cultivating, nurturing, and building relationships. That's number 5. Number 4, you have no system for networking. There are 5 things I do every single day, 365 days a year. It is my system. Now, I had to think about that because someone asked me maybe 27, 28 years ago, Mr. Fraser, do you have a system for networking? Yeah, I have a system. I do now. I had to think about it because it was so habitualized. I didn't realize it was my system. It was just habit. These are just things I did every single day automatically. It works for me. It may not work for you, but it works for me. I'm going to teach you that system at the Power Networking Conference. You probably already know because you've observed my behavior. You know that when you call me, I call you back. You know that you get calls from me by surprise. So you probably are familiar with some of the elements of my system. Not finally, but number 3, a big mistake, you bring nothing to the table. Let me say that differently. Your goal is to be an inch wide and a mile deep in your subject matter expertise, and to be a mile wide and an inch deep in matters of the world, so that you can talk about something other than the weather, sports, or the Real Housewives of Atlanta. That's what makes you interesting. What do you bring to the table? How do you add value? Do you understand the purpose of life? The purpose of life is very simple. You must love, give, serve, and add value. That's what the purpose of life is. Loving, giving, serving, and adding the highest value to somebody or something every minute of every day. That is the purpose of life. There's no other reason for you to be here. How are you loving, serving, and adding value? How do you bring that to the table? That's number 3. Number 2, this is huge. It's simple, but it's huge. Most people are networking the wrong way. They're networking to get something. Wrong. You network to give, and as you give, you get. You ain't giving, you ain't getting. If you have nothing, or if you give nothing, there's nothing you can take out of life. You just can't. If you're not putting anything in, there's nothing that you can take out. So network to give. Give first, the getting comes later. And it may not even come back on the person you're giving to. You give without conditions. That's a deposit in the bank of life, the giving bank of life, and it will come back to you. It's karma. I don't give to get. I give because I can, and I don't give on conditions. I give because I want to and because I can. I don't give you flowers because you gave me chocolates. That's a condition. I don't love you because you love me. That's a condition. I love you because I can and I want to, if I choose to, but it's unconditional. Finally, number one, the number one mistake. Low emotional intelligence. Well, IQ is very important. EQ is more important. Your emotional intelligence, how you comport yourself, how you manage the five most importance in you and use the management of those emotions to cultivate, nurture, and to build relationships at work, at home, and in the community. Those are the three networks that you're going to have to work on every passage of your life. Each passage is 10 years, and people are platooning in and out of your life. But it is your emotional intelligence, your temperament, your comportment. There's a wonderful book on this. I've read all the books on emotional intelligence. It is now a science, but the best one is Emotional Intelligence 2.0. Emotional Intelligence 2.0. Read that book 2 or 3 times and you'll be a different person. Take the exam that you will have access to in the back of the book. Before you read the book, then take the exam. After the book, you can rate your emotional intelligence just like you can rate your IQ. That's the number one mistake. We do not develop our emotional intelligence, and you can develop it. You cannot develop your IQ. Whatever your IQ is, it is. It is your capacity to learn. Whatever your personality type is, you can take a test for that. That's what your personality type is. It is what it is. You can modify it a little bit, but it is your type. Your emotional intelligence, you absolutely can improve on. And there are exercises and there's a whole science around how to do that. So work on your emotional intelligence. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
George, that was just awesome, man. I mean, we have just so much activity going on in the feed below. We want to thank all of you. Hopefully, you've taken the time to take some copious notes, to go back and review what George has said. He said a lot. He said a lot, and we hope that you can go back and review it. Now, a way that we designed for you to be able to make sure that you don't miss these and have access to these at a later date, you can go to newblackpower.com, enter your name and email. We'll make sure that you're able to get this information as well as notifications of all the future live streams that are coming up. So George has said a lot of activity going on. We just wanted to let you know that this is just the base. We're just beginning. So we know that there's a lot of questions that people have. We have John Hope Bryant coming later on talking about economics, politics, because we see exchange going on in the feed about these different subjects. We have all of that coming for you. This is just the base. This is the foundation. This is the bar that we're setting. So we're hoping that everything now goes higher and higher and higher. So we did promise you an hour, but George said he's going to hang around and we're going to answer a few questions. You got a few minutes, George, to hang out?
Yeah, absolutely. Answer every question there is to be asked.
Yeah, but we just wanted to make sure those of you who have to go, and I believe we're up around 400 people or something like that that's chiming in, that's on the feed, the live stream. Again, you can still share this, make sure people can come and give their input and feedback, because we want to make sure that we hear what it is that you have to say. And so what we want you to do, Linda and a few others, but Linda, if you can begin to accumulate a couple questions, George is going to hang around and we're going to answer those questions for you. If you have to leave, you can
Any questions
leave,
about the Power Networking Conference?
Yeah, that matter of fact, I already have one right here. The first question. So Linda's going to get a few, Linda, get a couple questions, as many as you can. We may have to try to compile them because I know they're all over the board and we want to make sure we answer them to the best of our ability and give you the time for them. But the number one question, George, that has been coming in that I have in my inbox and my mailbox, everything is, could you give us an update on the Power Networking Conference? There were questions about, was this replacing the conference and things like that. So could you give us an update on the Power Networking Conference, considering the time that we're living in right now?
Right now, as we speak, we don't know because we're not God. Many of the large African American conferences are committed to their July conferences. Ours is the second week in July, July 8th through the 11th in Houston. We are 60% sold out, okay? And we are committed to our date until further notice. We have not postponed it yet. We are going to wait until probably late April to see how things are trending, especially in Houston, Texas, most importantly. And we'll make a decision then whether we move it or not. Bottom line is we are going to have a 2020 Power Networking Conference, whether it's July 8th through the 11th. We hope and pray that it is. That's what we're shooting for. That's what we're hoping for. But if we have to move it to a slightly later date, just so that everybody is safe and everybody has recovered, we will do whatever it takes to do. But bottom line, we are going to have a 2020 Power Network. So that's number one. In the past, we've had sellouts with about 1,500 attendees. However, we're going to be proactive and we are going to prepare for any CDC changes or mandates to secure the safety of our guests. I suspect that we will be able to gather once again in larger numbers, more than 10. So the bottom line, what does all of this mean to you? As it stands, as I mentioned earlier, we are ahead of our projections as of this time last year. So we are trending larger numbers than the same period last year. Therefore, what we have done to manage this is we have allotted a limited number of registrations for our Power podcast series, so that we will have some registrations available for all 30 of them. So we have to limit them. So for those of you that want to go beyond the old Costco sampler of excellence, if you've ever been to Costco, you know that you can have an entire meal and just samples in Costco, and then you end up in your cart with about $300 worth of stuff from your samples. But if you want to be in the presence of greatness and brilliance, we've got an opportunity for you, and we want to make an offer. You're spending your time on here, and we want to make you an offer. The offer is good until midnight tonight. It's going to be timestamped. If you want to take advantage of this offer, you have to email me personally at gfraser@frasernet.com. That's gfraser, F-R-A-S as in Sam, E-R, at frasernet.com. Say, I'm in, put your name and your cell number on it, and here's the offer. It's good until midnight and for a limited number of people, so that we can spread this out over the next 11 weeks and manage the numbers that we want for the conference. What we're going to do is make available to you a full adult registration, which is typically $1,495. If you go to www.powernetworkingconference.com, you will see that let's call it the rack rate is $1,495 for an adult. If you met someone that could change the trajectory of your life, would that be worth $1,495? Yes, you bet it would. So we're going to include an adult registration and a student registration. We encourage that you bring young people, that they should be sitting at the feet of the elders and the masters. We should be conferencing everywhere in Black America and inviting our young people. A student registration normally is $895. We're going to throw that in, and we're going to give you a package. That package is valued at $2,400. That's what the package is valued at. We're going to give it to you for $399. That's a $1,900 discount. It is a limited time and a limited number of people. So when you email me, that is timestamp. If it's beyond midnight tonight, we're going to I'm going to very nicely send you an email and say you'll have to try again on the next podcast, which is Lisa Nichols on Thursday. So it's $399, $1,900 off of a 20, what did I say, 2,300, 800 and 1,500, right? $2,300 package, right? So that's the offer. I'm looking at my screen here already. 18 people have binged and dinged me. So we're getting near the limit. So that's the offer. It's good until 12 midnight. $1,900 off. This is a conference like you've never experienced before. In fact, when you go back to explain it to people who are not fortunate enough to be there, you will not be able to explain it. You will go, the default explanation is you just have to be there. And half of the people that you will be hearing from over the next 10 to 11 weeks will be faculty members of the conference as well. So that's where we are with the conference. It will happen in 2020. We are hoping that it will happen July the 8th through the 11th in Houston, Texas at the Hilton. But we ain't God. We believe the coast will be clear. China fundamentally got rid of their coronavirus in 3 months. So let us pray. That's the answer. I know it's a long answer, but that's the answer.
Awesome. George, can you give the email address one more time? We had a couple people didn't get the email address.
Sure. G Fraser, F-R-A-S is in Sam, E-R, G Fraser at frasernet.com. G Fraser at frasernet.com.
Awesome. Awesome. And we will keep you updated. As we get more information, we'll let you know. That's what we're trying to make sure that we're in constant contact with you to keep you updated, not only on that, but a lot of the vital information that you are seeking. One person had put into the comments below, they were asking about, I guess, the SBA loans for their businesses. And I'm a part of several masterminds, and people have been floating that information. We'll get that information to you, and we'll try to post that so that everyone will have the same and exact correct information. It is important that is correct. So we'll gather that information. It is floating around, but I want to do some double checking to make sure that we have it accurately for you before we post it. Okay.
Yeah,
so
here's what I'm going to do, Brother Bedford.
Okay.
I have a good piece of information that I'm going to post up on all my social media tonight.
Okay.
All small business people should get the money. The government, it's got $350 billion. Of course, that pales in comparison to the welfare that the corporate sector will be getting, but that's a whole nother story.
Mm-hmm.
Apply for it. Apply for it. It's an easy application. I'll send you all the information. I'll send you the links. I'll send you all the information on how it works. It's an easy read, a simple read. You'll have a link in that information that I'll post tonight. I'll post it on both my Facebook pages. I'll post it on Instagram. I'll post it on Twitter, and I'll post it on LinkedIn. But apply for the money. You have nothing to lose. I know you are losing business. If you are in any kind of business, there is no activity, generally speaking, for 98% of us. I typically have 5 streams of income. All 5 of those streams are zero. When I say I mean the business. We have 5 constant streams of income. They have been reduced to zero. People are frozen in place at this moment in time. So you're losing money. You deserve consideration and remuneration. If others are getting it, you deserve to get it. Get it. Apply for it. Take the time. You have nothing else to do. You're sitting on your behind. You're looking at a computer. Do the work. Get the money.
Awesome, George. So y'all heard that. Make sure that you tune back into this page as well as George's other pages to make sure that you receive that information. Of course, I'll share it on my page as well. We got a few questions, George. So let's kind of dive into them kind of rapid fire to make sure we kind of get as many in as we can. What is the number one reason why people fail?
I want to say this and still be loved. As a 75-year-old elder, have been connected to literally tens of thousands of people, have had thousands of conversations up close and personal, have mentored, talked to, coached. Work ethic. Most people will not do the work. They simply will not do the work. I have answered at least 500 calls because I have a very free, open line of people who said, Dr. Fraser, I want to be an entrepreneur. Will you mentor me? And I say, yeah, I'll be happy to. But as your mentor, you're going to have to do what I instruct you to do. Are we in agreement with that? This is a conversation I'm having on the phone with somebody who wants me to be their mentor. And I say, yes. I said, I said, this will take you no more than a week. I want you to read a book for me. It's the best written book on entrepreneurship ever written. The E-Myth. It's a wonderful book. I've read it at least 4 or 5 times over the years. It's the best, easiest read on understanding what it takes to be an entrepreneur, to be a business owner. I said, will you read that book for me? You can purchase it on Amazon for $15. You can read it. Even if you're a slow reader, you can read it in less than a week. When you read that book, I want you to call me back and I want to discuss it with you. I've read it many times and there's some ideas in there I want you to understand and I want to discuss them with you as your mentor. This is over 500 times over the many, many, many years. I have never gotten one phone call back. Not one person called me back. They simply would not do the reading. Now, I don't call them back. If you don't have the ethic and the work ethic to at least read a book about something you aspire to be, I am highly suspect on whether you will do the work necessary, because that pales in comparison to the 12 to 14 hours that you're going to have to work every day to be a successful entrepreneur and business owner. There is no day I don't work 12 hours. Monday through Sunday. Now, I'm not digging holes, but I'm sitting on my couch thinking, I'm dreaming about my business. So work ethic. Are you ready, willing, and able to do the work? There are a million books on what you need to do. Are you willing to do the work and to stay the course?
Right, right. Awesome answer, George. DeAndre asked, how did you go from being a solopreneur to building a system for your business, or do you have founding partners when you guys started? So I guess let's split that in two. He wants to know, how did you go from being a solopreneur to building your systems? And then I guess the second part of that is, did you have founding partners with you when you started your business?
The answer is yes and no. So part of the answer on how you go from a solopreneur to a business where you're building systems is you get the right partner. You begin there. I found the right partner at the earliest stages of the development of this business. His name was Greg Williams. He passed 2 years ago. I miss him. We started a business on a handshake. I said, here's what I'm thinking of. Here's what you do that there's a strength where I have a weakness. Let's do this together. He said, absolutely. On a handshake. So I had known Greg well for at least a decade before the 32 years of business partnership that we shared together. So going from a solopreneur to a legitimate entrepreneur and growing and developing a business, you got to find the right partner. Now, that's a metaphor for life, brothers and sisters. Because to go from a bachelor or a bachelorette to a responsible human being responsible to a family, raising a family, doing right by your family, you have to find the right partner. I've been married to the same sister for 47 years, so I've been pretty good at picking partners. So there's a secret. Do you know enough about you to pick the right partner to grow and develop your business and your life? Two of the most important decisions you will make in your life. Without partners, and you can even call your employees partners, and in many respects they are, you don't grow a business. You grow people, and people grow the business. So in a sense, they're partners. So without the interpersonal people skills, without the emotional intelligence to cultivate, nurture, and develop people, you won't grow anything. You'll experience multiple divorces, and your business will not grow and thrive over time, because the acid test is time. Time tells on everybody and everything. That's my answer.
Great answer, George. Awesome. This comes from Canada. They want to know, who should they contact in order to open up a Canadian chapter of Fraser Nation?
You need to contact me. The best way to contact me is do like a lot of Canadians do. I got a lot of great Canadian friends. I love Canada. I live in Cleveland, so I'm in Toronto all the time. I love Toronto, one of my favorite cities in the world. You got to come to the conference. You got to immerse yourself in the people and the culture and the character and the integrity of what is going on. You got to cultivate and develop a relationship with the key people of the nation. And we don't have chapters, we have governors. And you work your way up to becoming a governor. We're a nation, we have governors. Nations don't have chapters. They have states, and who leads the state? A governor. And we have a Secretary of State. His name is Dr. Ron Daniels, by the way, and you'll meet Dr. Ron Daniels during our Power Podcast series. So let me say that differently. If you want to meet important people, you have to be where important people are, because they're not coming to you. Go where the important people are who are running the nation, and let them know what your aspiration is. And we'll take it from there.
It's a great answer, George. Now, as we get ready to wind down, because again, we want to be respectful of your time, we are going to allow you to go ahead and put a couple more questions in, but I just wanted to kind of go over that schedule again that we have immediately coming up this Thursday. We have the one and only Lisa Nichols. And so we want to make sure that you invite people back to this page. If you need notification, go to www.newblackpower.com, and therefore I'll update you. Make sure you confirm. A few people who had registered, they forgot to hit the confirmation button in their email, so they didn't get the notification of when this would start. So we want to make sure that you get the notifications. Any other notifications and updates, we'll send them to you that way. George already mentioned that he'll be posting things on this page and his other social media pages, but we want to make sure that you know where we're starting. Right here this Thursday at 7 o'clock, we have the one and only Lisa Nichols. Then next Tuesday, we have the world's #1 motivational speaker, old dear friend of George, Fraser, Dr. George C. Fraser, Mr. Les Brown. So we want to make sure we let everyone know that Les Brown will be here next Tuesday. Lisa Nichols will be here this Thursday. And again, we're just going to keep pouring gasoline on the fire from that point forward. So we're going to go through one more time. Linda, if you have any questions, could you send them over to me? I want to make sure, because we don't want to leave you. This is your opportunity to ask Dr. George C. Fraser any question that you want. He said he's willing to hang around. We have a few minutes, so go ahead and put your question in. Linda, if you could send them to me. I'm scanning as quickly as I can. I did see some questions about money and currency and gold and all of those type of things. We're going to give you all of that information. That's why we brought the best economic mind. Dr. Boyce Watkins will be here next Thursday. So we got Dr. Boyce Watkins, John Hope Bryant. So we're going to answer your questions on economics, politics, finance, currency, real estate. We have everybody coming to you. So we're not going to leave you hanging, okay? Let's see. We have several people saying they're coming to the conference. It's great. Someone is bringing their 18-year-olds. So great. We see a lot of people coming in. Yes, Les Brown is going to be here the same way we are here next Tuesday at 7 o'clock. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, George, is there any concluding words that you like to share as we get ready to wrap up?
I just want to remind folks, I think we have 4 more slots left on the conference for this particular podcast. Know that when we get your information, your email to me, gfraser@frasernet.com, say I'm in, put your cell number in there, of course your name, and know that we will be in touch with you tomorrow to get all of this wrapped up. Don't procrastinate. The conference is, as I said, 60% sold out. So we've got 3 more months, and it's not going to last that. It's not going to stay open that long. We have gone 17 minutes over, and I've said. Someone once said to me, listening to you, Dr. Fraser, is like drinking water from a fire hose. So I really, no, I don't really have any concluding. I'll have some things to say on Thursday as we tee up Lisa Nichols, but I just want to quote Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein, and here's a wonderful quote. He says, it's not that I'm so smart. It's just that I stay with problems longer. For those of you who have been following me for the 34 years or so that I've been out here, looked at my videos, you can see many of them on YouTube, you will notice that I actually have been saying the same things for the last 40 years. I say them a little bit differently. I tell different stories. I give updated statistics. But in essence, I'm saying the same things. I've charted a course. And I've stayed that course. That's my advice to you. Chart your course, find your purpose. What gives you the greatest fulfillment, the greatest joy, and the greatest satisfaction? Stay that course, and all that is due you will come to you. Stick with it.
That's awesome, George. Thank you so much. Again, we hope and pray that you were well fed. I know I was well fed, and I'm sure you were. We still have people asking about the books and things like that. Those comments are already below. Just go through the feed if you joined us a little bit late. Hopefully next time you'll be on time, because we're going to start on time every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 o'clock. We want to make sure that we keep it right. We want to keep it tight and concise, and make sure that we give you what you need so that you can go about to doing the work that George mentioned. So again, thank you for sharing with us your valuable time this evening. What we're getting ready to do now is sign off. Again, I think there was one last question that came through again with the scheduling. Again, someone just posted. Thank you so much. Lisa Nichols this Thursday, Les Brown next Tuesday, Dr. Boyce right after that. And then we didn't even mention Dr. Dennis Kimbrough is coming up right after that. So as you can see, we have the best and brightest minds in Black America coming to feed you, to serve you, to help you to get through what many are going through trying times. We want to make sure that we're here for you and to help you and to answer your questions to the best of our ability. So we'll look forward to seeing you this Thursday at 7 o'clock. Make sure you tell someone, share the page, and tell them to meet us here this Thursday at 7 o'clock with the one and only Lisa Nichols and Dr. George C. Fraser. So we want to sign off and say good night, everybody, and we hope to see you in a couple of days. Take care.
Love you. Take care.